I want to tell you a story. Come a little bit closer. A few years ago, I was excited when a friend of mine was going to teach with me. We're nurses, but she had just finished her nurse practitioner, her master's in nurse practitioner, a brilliant human being, fantastic to watch in the workplace. And I was really excited to be able to teach with her. But after a week, I was really quite shocked. I had heard bad reports. Students weren't enjoying her lessons. She wasn't delivering. She was judging. She was putting students down. When I was talking to her, she was criticizing the knowledge of the learners. She didn't have a lot of positive things to say. I could get a feel of why the learners didn't really relate to her. It all peaked out one afternoon when there was screaming coming from the classroom. It was massive, it was huge, and tears. I wasn't quite sure what had happened, but I knew it wasn't good. I didn't get to work with her again in the teaching, and I felt like we had missed out on somebody with so much knowledge, so much experience, and so much skill because we could not teach her, or we didn't even try to teach her to teach grown-ups well. I think this is a mistake that happens quite a bit in the adult learning realm where we become content experts. And because we've learned, we decide that we can teach. And yet they're two different skill sets, two different knowledges. How to teach is not how to learn. How to learn is not how to teach. My doctoral research was trying to identify what adult learners needed. This came because of an experience I'd had in the workplace where a student that I was teaching had graduated and had graduated with all the academic accolades that anybody could ever wish for. She'd put in a lot of work. Now, we'd become friends because her background was business and I was her lecturer in nursing. I was keen to understand business better, and she was keen, well, she was learning nursing. So we'd spent quite a bit of time together. When I saw her in the workplace as a fully fledged RN in charge of her own patients, I congratulated her. I said how proud I was and that she should be proud too on everything that she's achieved. She turned to me and she said, "My degree? It's a Bachelor of YouTube Nursing." She told me that she felt that the university philosophy was, here's a YouTube video, here's a huge PowerPoint presentation, go and teach yourself how to be a nurse. I was shocked. I was upset. I'd been implicit. I'd been part of this and I wasn't aware of the impact. About the same time, I got an email from the university saying, "Would you be interested in studying a doctorate?" Was it a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. My doctorate was asked the question, what do adult learners need? I found that there were 4 needs in the wide spectrum of things. These needs were shared across gender, across age, across teaching facilities, whether it was a university, vocational education and training facility, or in the workplace. All of my learners in my study needed to know themselves as learners. They needed to be able to manage change, they needed a community, and they needed to enjoy what they were doing in one form or another. Now, what I did with this when I gathered my results was that I weaved the 7 learners' separate stories into one story. And this story became a teaching story that shared the practicalities of what adult learners need and how they can achieve it, and how, as educators, we can help facilitate that. So my book's actually divided into 3 sections. The first section, we talk about philosophy and methodology. I actually think it's really important as teachers that we think about what we believe knowledge is and how do we get knowledge? What is the truth? What is reality in the world? And how do we know? I think we should think about that. And is just everything we see at a surface level, is that true? Is that truth? Is that reality? Or are there layers underneath what we see? For example, adults come to adulthood, usually with a little bit of trauma or a lot of trauma. We've had experiences that have shaped us, that have grounded us in who we are, or they've taken a little bit away from us as well. This is important to understand when we are going to walk into a classroom and teach or teach online. So the first part of the book is philosophy, it's methodology, so that there's a transparency in how I designed my research and how I analysed it. I think that's a really important point. And it also gives me that academic and professional audience. It ticks the box for authenticity and accuracy. The middle section is the adult learner hero story. It's my great narrative, constructed from the narrative of the 7 participants. I've based it on Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, because every adult learner is a hero. And then the final section, we get down to the nitty-gritty. We look at what self is. What does that mean neurologically, physiologically, emotionally? How does an adult learner figure out how they best learn? And how can a teacher, a coach, a trainer support that? The same with change, because when we're learning, we're changing. That change is going to impact families, it's going to impact careers, it's going to impact our community. Community is the third one. Adults learning community. How can we create community in our teaching and learning? How can we value that learner-learner relationship? Because when a learner grasps a concept, they're in a good position to share that with another learner using similar language. One of my learners actually said it was like those water cooler conversations, those casual conversations that actually manifest change. They make you think. And then joy. We've got to enjoy it. And we found that there is a cognitive benefit to happiness. Being happy, being joyful in our learning and in our life actually helps us learn. So that's it. This is my book, Teach Grown-Ups Well, Mastering the Art and Science of Adult Learning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to design this and get into it and submit it for publication. Maybe. I'm thinking positively.